I think Beyonders as a whole, to me, it's my coolest series so far. I think Fablehaven is a little warmer, a little friendlier, but as far as like cool heroic action, that would probably be Beyonders. Beyonders is sort of a thicker book, so if the kind of kid that's getting used to a thick book, that's more Fablehaven, that's more Candy Shop War. You know, even though Fablehaven and Candy Shop War will get read by adults, because I tried to make it twisty so an adult would like it, you know, and so that my mind would like it, so I wouldn't go crazy as a writer. My only compass on if the book is cool is if I like it. But Beyonders feels a little older, feels a little like more, it's just kind of on the older side of my category. Remember, my category is the same category as Percy Jackson, Harry Potter, kind of Ranger's Apprentice. That's sort of around the feel of where Beyonders is. Beyonders is my Narnia-type story. In Beyonders, our characters leave the real world and they cross into a fantasy world, sort of like how the characters in Narnia go through a wardrobe to get to a new place. In Beyonders, I was trying to think, how do I get my characters from the real world into a fantasy world? And I was at the zoo. And this big old, who's read Beyonders? Not a fair amount of you guys, yeah. I went to the hippo tank at the zoo, and this big hippo came up out of the water, and it opened its enormous mouth, and I looked down, and I was like, you could fit a dude in there. And so I decided my strange gateway to another world would be the gaping jaws of a hippo. I knew it was weird and almost too weird, because I didn't want people to think that the book was going to be totally farcical. It would seem like it'd just be a ridiculous story if that's how we get into another world, through a hippo's mouth. But at the same time, I was like, however we get from our world into a fantasy world is sort of ridiculous. You know, a tornado is ridiculous, a rabbit hole is ridiculous, and so let's just embrace the ridiculous and make it a hippo's mouth. There are other ways in Lyrian, and other characters go to and from Lyrian in other ways, but our main character, at least in book one, goes through in a hippo's mouth. Lyrian is a world where there's an emperor who's trying to get rid of all the heroes. He's not trying to kill the heroes. If he kills the heroes, he might make them more famous. So instead, he's trying to break the heroes. He wants to buy these guys off and turn them into sellouts. He wants to leave them looking and feeling like failures, so he can wreck the whole idea of trying to become a hero. And he has almost succeeded, which is why book one is called A World Without Heroes. So in Beyonders, what we'll kind of see is these two main characters leaving our world and crossing into a world where they're trying to learn to be heroes, and a world that's kind of given up on heroes. And they'll be working with some broken heroes who they kind of inspire to come out of retirement. Beyonders is just 3 books. The first one came out last year. The second one came out last month. That's what I'm touring for right now, the Seeds of Rebellion. And the third one will be out next year. It'll be called Chasing the Prophecy. Again, like I said at the start, I think it's kind of my most heroic story, and I think it's kind of in some ways my coolest. Definitely, if you like the kind of book where early on there's lots of cool setups, or sometimes even strange setups, that then pay off in satisfying ways deeper in the story, Beyonders has lots of that. I've been planning it for so long that I think those kind of things, those setups and payoffs are in the story like crazy. You get rewarded for paying attention. To create the world for Beyonders, I wanted it to feel like we'd gone someplace different. When I wrote my Fablehaven book, the premise was that all those magical creatures we'd ever heard of and myths and legends were actually did exist and live in our world, like dragons or giants or centaurs. And so I did my version of a lot of those creatures in my Fablehaven books on those secret wildlife parks. For Beyonders, because we'd left our world, I wanted to see stuff we hadn't seen before. And so an example of one of the magical races I invented for Beyonders are these guys called the Amar Cabal. The Amar Cabal are the people of the seed. These guys have seeds at the base of their skull. If they get killed, the seed pops out. And if you plant the seed, they can regrow into their young adult form and live again. So these guys can live over and over if their seed keeps getting replanted. As an author, that gives me fun story possibilities, because like I can have a hero die a heroic death, the seed pops out, you just like plant them or whatever, bring them back into the story if I don't want to lose that character. Or if a seed gets destroyed, all those potential lifetimes are lost. So it kind of makes high stakes. That's a little bit about me, I guess. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah area. I do come to Arizona a lot because my wife's from Mesa, and so my in-laws are here. Like my sister-in-law's here tonight with the glasses on her head, hanging out.
You're lucky.
And I'm glad I come here a lot. You're lucky. That's awesome. I want you to say that to my wife. You know what I mean? Honey, just a second. I got a kid on here. He wants to tell you something. Mrs. Mole, you are a lucky woman.
Yes, she is.
Yes. See? See? And she's not here. No, she's not here because she's home. She's super supportive of the writing thing. One of the hardest things about my job is I go on tour a lot. You know, like I'm on the road usually 3 or 4 months, 5 months out of the year. If you cram the time all together, that's how long I'm on the road. And she gets it. She's really supportive. She knows that part of the things I'm trying to balance in my life are trying to write cool books, and then you got to promote the books. You got to let people know they exist. Word of mouth has to start somewhere. So that's you guys. If the books are cool, spread the word. Tell somebody. And then the third thing I'm doing is trying to be a dad. And if I drop the ball on any of those things, I've kind of messed up my life. So my wife kind of helps get that. I'm trying hard to balance all those things and helps make it work. Do you guys have any questions about what I do as a writer or about my crazy books? I kind of gave you a big info dump of information about the stories, a little bit about where they came from. Anything you want to know that I didn't cover? Yes. How many series in the future? Several still. I still have there'll be for sure a new series after Beyonders is over. That's already kind of figured out. I have a couple more brand new series that I have planned for down the road. So there's at least maybe 2 or 3 left in me of brand new things. I also have some series I'll write that'll be like sequel series to Fablehaven, a few things like that. And then as far as what I can see right now, 2 or 3 new series. I'll stop doing it if I stop finding a premise that feels new and fresh to me, but I've got a couple premises in my head that feel like I think they're as good or better than anything I've done so far. So I think I've still got some really cool, different things left in me. I don't want to repeat myself. I don't want to rewrite the same book. I hate it when other authors do that. Like I'll find an author and I like them, and they start kind of repeating the same story, and sometimes it gets a little frustrating. I'll try really hard not to do that. I mean, there might be patterns I can't see, but I'll be trying really hard to make the different books feel different from each other. Pink Mickey Mouse shirt.
Okay, I have 2. One is, what would you tell a young author? And more specifically, how did you come up with a cool title? I have completely failed in this.
Okay, so you get frustrated about the title. And good news about the title for any author is that your publisher will help you with the title. Publishers like to title the books because it's such a big marketing decision. They like to be involved. I've been lucky. I've been able to title most of my stuff. The original title for Beyonders did come from my publisher. Now, I made up the word Beyond. Well, I didn't make it up. I've heard the word Beyonders before, but I used the word Beyonders in my story to describe people who came from beyond the area, people who came from outside that world are called Beyonders. And so they lifted that word up and said, this is a cool series title. It kind of gets the idea across. We're going beyond into this other world and Narnia-type situation. Fablehaven, I titled myself, and all the individual book titles, like A World Without Heroes, Youth of Rebellion, Chasing the Prophecy, or the Fablehaven book titles, Keys, The Demon Prison, stuff like that. Those are all things that I did title. When I'm doing a title, I'm kind of thinking of something that sums up. You don't have to tell everything about your story with the title. You just have to tell something cool about your story with the title. Does that make sense? If you try to say everything, you'll just always fail. That's why it's hard for writers to write the marketing copy on the jacket of their books. Because they want to tell the whole story. That's not what you're doing. You're just telling a piece of the story, something to get a reader interested. For Fablehaven, like fable is like a fairy tale, a haven's like a safe place or a port. So to me, Fablehaven sounded like a safe place for fairy tale creatures. When I first started saying that word, people were like, huh? But then it seemed to catch on, and people got used to it, and now everyone feels like it's a good title. So, I don't know. You think about it. But the good news is, if you don't come up with a good title, your publisher will help you. All right? If you're coming up with a big story, they may not be able to help you so much.